Hyperinflation in the Weimar Republic. The hard days of German citizens, money, is often seen as merely a tool, something that makes life easier, measures value, and keeps the economy moving. Yet in reality, money is a social belief, a silent agreement that a piece of paper will be valid tomorrow, just as it is today. The Weimar hyperinflation was one of the moments when this belief collapsed. Historical background. After the First World War, Germany suffered a heavy defeat and a major blow. Under the Treaty of Versailles, the newly established Weimar Republic was obliged to pay war reparations, amounting to billions of gold marks. However, the state's revenues were not sufficient to cover this burden. During the war, Germany had suspended the gold standard and chose to finance the war entirely through borrowing. The government believed that it would win the war and repay these debts by forcing the defeated enemies to pay reparations. But when the war was lost, this strategy collapsed, and the debts remained exactly where they were. The mechanism. How money loses its value. Under normal conditions, money is balanced by production, labor, and trust. But in Weimar Germany, this balance was disrupted. The state began printing unbacked money to cover budget deficits and pay reparations. Especially in 1923, the occupation of the Ruhr industrial region by French and Belgian forces disrupted production. In order to continue paying wages to workers participating in passive resistance, the government printed even more banknotes. The result was clear. While the amount of money in circulation increased exponentially, the production of goods and services declined. More banknotes were assumed to mean more money. But the reality was this: the same bread, the same job, the same struggle for life. Only more pieces of paper. And as the paper multiplied, its value rapidly declined. Collapse in daily life. By 1923, hyperinflation was no longer an abstract economic concept. It had moved to the center of daily life. A worker who received their wages in the morning would lose a large part of their money if they did not spend it by the evening. Prices changed hourly, and writing price tags in shops became meaningless. Wages were carried not in wallets, but in wheelbarrows. Banknotes had become toys for children. People burned money in stoves because heating this way was cheaper than buying something with it. In November 1923, the monthly inflation rate reached approximately 29,500%. The German mark became almost completely worthless. Psychological and social breakdown. However, the real devastation of the Weimar hyperinflation did not occur in economic charts, but in the human mind. People no longer believed in working, saving, the future. Because tomorrow could not be predicted, it was getting worse at every moment. Money does not only facilitate trade, it provides order. When money dies, rules lose meaning, patience wears thin, anger rises, and order collapses. Society does not seek solutions. It seeks someone to blame. Radicalism and historical consequences. The Weimar hyperinflation was not merely an economic disaster. It shattered the social foundation, impoverished the middle class, and created a fertile ground for the rise of extremist political movements. Simple answers began to look like hope in the face of complex suffering, and history changed direction at this breaking point. The end of the crisis. With the introduction of the Rentenmark in November 1923 and strict fiscal discipline, hyperinflation was brought to an end. Later, with the Dawes Plan, the German economy partially stabilized, and international confidence began to be rebuilt. But what was lost was not only money. Trust was lost as well. Conclusion: the unchanging question. That is why economists say the following: hyperinflation does not burn money, it burns society. Today, banknotes are different. Systems are more complex and unstable. But the question remains the same. If money dies, what happens to society? And perhaps the more disturbing question is this: have we really left this behind? Or have we simply hidden it better? How long do you think this system can continue like this? Write your thoughts in the comments, and let's brainstorm together.